Morning. In a little deviation from normal, instead of recording Sunday night from my home, I'm here on campus on Monday morning and taking the opportunity to sit outside on a cloudy, hopefully glare-free morning so that this recording idea works, and just to give you a little view of the campus and see where things are at. This past weekend, or the weekend before, we had commencement here, and many students, online students, that's the first time they ever see the campus, and it's kind of interesting. It's the first time they've ever seen it, and it's at the end of their college career. So occasionally I like to give people a view so that you know that there is a place behind the computer, and that's what we're doing today. Okay, I just want, as usual, let me back up into the previous week and give you a picture of the week where it's coming from this week. Last week, this is becoming an amazing class for discussion. You guys are really beyond the level that I anticipated, but you're at the level that I wanted, and that's really great. The discussions that I'm seeing are fantastic, where people are really taking some of the arguments and bringing them back into their own lives. And some people say, well, are we getting off topic? When we started, I noticed some people starting to discuss the merits of products that they use, and a lot of a competition between Apple and Samsung. That was an interesting conversation to me, because I recently bought a new tablet, and I had the iPad in hand and ended up with a Samsung. So yeah, I'm interested in conversations like that, because I think they tell us that we understand what the material was all about. And I really do think that a lot of companies, particularly in the technology field, have to be out on what we call the edge. But so often we just consider that with technology. Look at the other items, look at the other industries where you can be. And I think that's a question that was really valid. You guys explored it in depth, and keep that in mind as you go ahead and build your project. Okay, now this week we're going to do something just a little differently and kind of concentrate on one specific area. One that's not really in detail approached in the project, because it's just very difficult to do in such a short time frame. And without it, though, plans and strategies fail. And what we're talking about is this whole idea of finance and operations. So we are really starting to look at, how do you implement the plans that you're making? How do you finance them? How do you control them? How do you manage them? Because a plan without the ability to achieve it is really kind of fruitless, and that's one thing I think that we want to keep in mind. A lot of people, as I said earlier, you have to, we're encouraging you to think big in the big picture, but I want you to think doable. So that's very important to us. Keep in mind that is the purpose as you go through some of these reviews of not finance data and finance problems, but what the role of finance is at the strategic level in a company. Is it an afterthought? Is it the conditions that set everything up at the beginning? Is it somewhere in between? What is it all about? That's what we're going to have you do. Yep, you can hear some horns blowing, and that proves that we are in the outdoors. The dogs across the street were just barking at the postman, so I hope they don't come back. Back to the matter at hand. The Baldrige assignment, the first one, I was able to grade that, and that I found very interesting. This week, I hope there's a little bit more commentary on the process in your groups. One group is, to be very honest, way ahead of the others, and the self-organization there is going great. Some of the other groups needed a little, shall I say, prodding, a little help to understand where they needed to be to get going. It's really important that you look hard at how you're collaborating, and what is that doing, what is that contributing to your group project, what is that contributing to your learning. The whole idea of having your working groups was the fact that so much business is done in a collaborative setting, that's the way we need to look at things to prepare ourselves what's going to be next for kind of life after college. And so many of you know that from your experience. So please make sure that activity is up there, and that you are working in your group, working with your group, understanding that you are an important point. Don't let one person carry all the load. And Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's so important to what we want to do. Okay, I've fielded a few questions already as to what we want. One of the biggest ones that's come up is, about looking into the facts of the case that the real life case that inspired the writing of our theoretical case that we're looking at right now. And the way I've answered that for a couple people, I'd like to answer it generally. If you look ahead at what really happened with Malden Mills, it might prejudice your thinking as to what you want to do. So take the situation literally from the way we've written the case. When you're standing there in that parking lot watching the last flames fizzle out, and Jake is challenging you and himself and his company and his community and all his stakeholders that this isn't over, we need to move forward. That's your role. So studying up on what really happened with Malden Mills would be interesting, but it might not help you come up with the best or the most original solution. So that's one thing you really need to keep in mind. Ask questions. Biggest thing you can do is ask questions. As I've told you, these discussions, they're happening on their own, and they're happening well. I will, if I need to, jump in and try to guide, but so far I am staying back, and that's with a purpose. The idea is to get self-organization. The idea is to allow you the space to do what you need to do, because frankly, in again a simulation of a real-world strategic problem, the top management, your boss's boss, so to speak, he's not going to be micromanaging or looking at everything you do, because the person over them, well, she's not going to be looking at what you do. A lot of it depends on how we figure things out and approach things from an original perspective. And these breakout sessions are allowing you to really concentrate on the process of collaboration. So try to make sure we do that. Okay, so this week is finance, but finance from a strategic perspective. It's continuing with the work of the project. It's going back and looking at everything that's come before. Don't forget Baldridge. Baldridge will be there every week, and we really would like you to comment on not only the material of the week, but on what you're seeing in your group process, and I think it's all going to make for a great course. Okay, thanks for your participation so far, and I hope this comes out and there's not too much traffic noise, barking dogs, horns, walking people, whatever. Thanks again.